The Infinite Tsukuyomi or the Eye of the Moon Plan is Madara Uchiha's solution to end the cycle of hatred, suffering, and the wars in the Naruto universe. It's a plan in which there will be no more losers in the world, and the entire human population will be living a utopia. However, this plan was destined to fail. And that's by design. After all, if the villain's goal is actually gonna bring about something good in the world, they wouldn't really be a villain, would they? They would be the hero because they'd be fighting for something good, something that will improve the lives of everyone. And yes, you can build a story like that in which your antagonist is actually gonna be what you would consider the good guy, but that's not the case for most shonen anime/manga. Now, unlike many shonen villains, Madara has a very interesting philosophical point for his Eye of the Moon plan. You can have great debates on whether or not the Infinite Tsukuyomi is a good thing for the human race, or if it's a terrible thing. And I'm pretty sure that if I made a poll asking you guys if you wanted to live in the Infinite Tsukuyomi or if you'd rather not live in the Infinite Tsukuyomi, it would be a pretty interesting divide, and I'm sure a lot of people would want to live in Madara's reality, meaning that, yeah, this is a very compelling goal for the main villain. Let me know in the comments below if you'd want to live in Madara's reality. But why do I claim that the Infinite Tsukuyomi was destined to fail from the beginning? Well, to understand that, we first have to analyze the plan itself. Madara needs to recombine all 9 tail beasts into the 10 tails and become the Jinchuriki of the 10 tails, so he attains this immense power that will allow him to unlock the most powerful dojutsu in the world, the Rinne Sharingan, and that will allow him to cast a worldwide genjutsu called the Infinite Tsukuyomi, a genjutsu that will hit every single person on the planet and project an illusion. An illusion that nobody will be aware of, except for Tenten in the fillers, because I suppose she's so strong she realized she was under a genjutsu and in the Infinite Tsukuyomi. That's so stupid. And this illusion will show you your perfect life. It will be as if you were living in paradise and utopia. Everything you desire most will be reality for you. You're not gonna be aware that you're actually paralyzed and under a genjutsu. No, for you, it will be as if all your dreams have been achieved and you're just living a great life. Without problems, without struggle, without the bad consequences of the real world. Madara's plan here stems from him having lived through a period of hell in the Naruto universe, the Warring States period, where kids fought in the battlefield against kids and also other adults. So many children died that the life expectancy in that period was 35 years old, and Madara watched many of his friends, family, and brothers dying. And because he's an Uchiha and he has that predisposition to love people much more deeply than regular people and also feel their losses much more terribly as well, he wanted to implement a system in which this would never happen again to anyone. Now, is that a little far-fetched? Well, yes, but then again, with the power of the 10 tails, it's achievable because you actually attain the power of a god. So you have godlike powers to essentially mold the world around you the way you want. But the Eye of the Moon plan has 2 major flaws. One from a mechanical standpoint of how the jutsu works, and another one, it's going to be a philosophical problem. And I'm going to be talking about both of them. Starting off with the mechanical problem. Now, the issue with Infinite Tsukuyomi here is that, yes, you are ushering paradise to the current human population. However, you're also going to extinguish the human population after 80 or 90 years. Because even though they are under an illusion and they think their lives are amazing, and they may even have children that illusion, in reality they are not gonna have children whatsoever because they're gonna be paralyzed under the genjutsu. They're gonna have absolutely no real life agency. They're not gonna be able to move around, form couples, have children, and as they grow older, they're just gonna die. And that'll be literally everyone, except for Madara, I guess. So Madara will be left behind as the Jinchuriki of the 10 tails, being immortal and alone, which has to be one of the saddest existences you can possibly think of. A man with godlike power alone in the universe. And then you may say, well, but Madara doesn't really care about people dying and the human race being extinct. He just wants to stop the cycle of war war and blood and destruction in the world. That's all he's about, and that's not true. Madara's goal is not to extinguish the human race. If he wanted to do that, he could simply actually kill everyone. You know, when he had control over the Ten Tails, for example, and he was lobbing Bijudamas everywhere, he could have done that way more and shoot the entire major city centers in the planet. But actually, he was just trying to find the Shinobi Alliance headquarters there with the Bijudamas. He wasn't like going for a full-out maniacal extermination or anything like that. Like, yes, he lobbed 2 meteors on top of the 4th Battalion and killed like 20,000 people in a couple of seconds, but he was fighting against them. They were actively trying to stop Madara from achieving his goals, so yeah. War casualties, that's different from exterminating the population. Why would Madara put himself through all the trouble of casting Infinite Tsukuyomi, which is much more difficult than just going around and making sure nobody else is alive? One could say it's because Madara wanted to feel like a god and make people see their dreams, but he didn't care about humanity surviving. But no, that was not the person Madara was. Yes, he was arrogant, condescending to people he found inferior, but his goal of ushering utopia with Infinite Tsukuyomi is completely the opposite of trying to destroy the human race. It would simply make no sense for him to go ahead and let everybody die. Because also, yeah, what's Madara gonna do after that? Is he just gonna be the last person alive? As I said, this is a terrible thing to happen to anyone. Would Madara himself put his own psyche under Infinite Tsukuyomi and live the dream? I mean, maybe, but it feels like Madara wanted to stay outside to quote-unquote govern his new world, even though it doesn't really need a lot of governing if everybody's under an illusion they can't even move. So no, this is a problem with the plan. The plan is going to eventually lead the human race to extinction, and that is completely counter to what Madara actually wanted to do. Now yes, I am already hearing people saying that, oh, actually the Infinite Tsukuyomi was just a plan to transform people into white setsu so that Kage could use an army to fight against the invading Otsutsukis that are coming to Earth after her, which, no, that part of the story is not even canon, so shut up. Also, I'm talking about the plan from Madara's perspective. Madara, being the guy to implement the plan, would have to know this is an issue, and this is why he may have implemented a counter for that, and this is me speculating here. But maybe, just maybe, that divine style deep forest emergence that essentially wrapped the tentacles of trees around everybody that was put under Infinite Tsukuyomi would somehow keep everybody alive? Like the chakra of the divine wood style would make everyone immortal so long as they are encased by it? And yes, technically that was supposed to form the white setsus, but nobody cares about that. It's not canon, as I said before. So maybe Madara thought this is making everybody immortal and they're just gonna see their great dreams forever and live happily ever after in the Infinite Tsukuyomi reality. Which, I guess, it's a way to solve the problem, but this is so strange. It would just make humanity stale and stuck in place forever without any growth, without any new developments. It would be so depressing from the outside, and Madara himself is not really gaining anything from it. I mean, I guess I could say, yes, I put everybody under the great dream, everybody is happy now, but there will come a certain point where Madara will get tired of that. So maybe he's just gonna put himself in the Infinite Tsukuyomi as well and forget about everything and just live his own dream. Anyway, I guess you can solve this problem if you just think that deep forest emergence is gonna make everybody immortal and therefore humanity won't go extinct. But the Infinite Tsukuyomi also has a much greater problem, which stems from its end goal, philosophically speaking. And as I said, some people will agree with Madara's take here. It's better to live under a good illusion than to live in a harsh, terrible reality. Even if everything that's happening in your psyche is not real, to you it's real, and therefore that's what matters. That's what people that defend the Infinite Tsukuyomi will say. They'll say it's much more comfortable for you to live under the illusion, and it'll be a much more peaceful and humane existence, because you're not gonna have to exploit other people, kill them in that corrupt and evil shinobi system of the world. And because you don't know that's not reality, you're not gonna care. You're just gonna think you're in a great place. However, people that are against against Infinite Tsukuyomi will say that, morally speaking, choosing to be put under this illusion, even if you're gonna live the perfect life, is something extremely selfish to do. Because yes, you may be seeing people you loved that were once alive, and things that are happening are great now, but Infinite Tsukuyomi is not gonna bring those people back. Infinite Tsukuyomi is not gonna actually make reality itself a good place. Everything is devoid of meaning and vapid because things are actually not happening, even if to you it may seem like they are. But that also brings another interesting aspect of this jutsu, which is, what if somebody actually likes going to war, fighting and killing people, or maybe even doing terrible criminal things? Would Infinite Tsukuyomi just show a reality to them that they can do all those things and get away with it? I mean, I would imagine Tobirama's Infinite Tsukuyomi would just be him executing Uchihas, and yeah, that'll make him pretty happy, wouldn't it? I guess the jutsu would work that way for those types of people. It would project their perfect world in the illusion, and it just so happens to be a really messed up world. And to be honest, this is not a philosophical issue I have with Infinite Tsukuyomi, because if you put a criminal under Infinite Tsukuyomi, at least they're not committing crimes anymore. They just think they're committing crimes, and therefore, at least other people are gonna be safe from them, except that everybody else is also gonna be under the illusion anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But the problem with Infinite Tsukuyomi from a philosophical standpoint, even going past the debate of whether or not you would want to be an Infinite Tsukuyomi, or whether or not living in the dream is better than living in reality, the end goal of the illusion itself is flawed. And that's because utopias are inhuman. And when I say inhuman, I am saying that utopias are counter to human nature itself. For me to explain here, let me take you back to a real-life experiment that happened a few times in the 60s called the mouse utopia. In this experiment, scientists would put a small population of mice, like 9 mice or so, in a closed environment which was perfect for them. It was an utopia. They had infinite access to food, they were safe from everything. It was a perfect environment for the mice to simply reproduce and keep growing the colony, a utopia. And you might think that in a utopia like that, an environment that's not gonna harm them in any way, where there are no dangers or threats to the mice, where they can eat as much as they want and finding food is not a problem for them, that they would thrive and become a gargantuan mice colony. But he would be completely wrong. What actually happened every time this experiment was conducted, and this is quite chilling, was that, yes, in the beginning, the rats population exploded, but soon after that, the mice colony simply crashed and their populations plummeted as the mice kinda went completely crazy, falling into degeneracy, killing each other for no reason. They stopped reproducing, even though they had complete free access to food, drink, and everything. They had no external threats to them. They themselves destroyed the colony. And in every single time the experiment was conducted, the entire mice population died out. Now, there are different interpretations as to why the mice colonies completely imploded. However, one of the most prevalent theories is that because utopia was a thing for that colony, and the mice never had to face any difficult situations during their lifetime, they never had to go through the process of finding food, or finding a suitable mate, or fighting off threats, that they simply lost their will to live, so to speak. Their lives were meaningless, and therefore they fell into this state of depression and degeneracy, which led to them not reproducing anymore. Showing that utopia is actually something bad that will actually destroy you instead of making you happy forever. And utopia is what the illusion of Infinite Tsukuyomi is showing you and letting you live through. Can you see the problem here? Now yes, comparing a colony of mice with infinite food and no threats to a person having a perfect life with no issues or complications where happiness is ubiquitous may sound a little weird because mice are much more simplistic beings than people. I honestly think it's not that far off. They actually address this point in The Matrix, a movie in which the human population is in a very similar situation to Infinite Tsukuyomi. Well, in that movie, humans are being harvested as batteries to power this alien civilization, and they are all under illusions thinking they're living their real lives, but they're not going through a perfect life. No, they're actually living normal, harsh, regular lives. And And the aliens did that because the humans couldn't really cope with living in a perfect place, in a life that was completely devoid of conflict or hardship. It was counter to the human nature, and therefore for the humans to be better quote-unquote batteries, and not figure out something was wrong and awaken from the illusion, they just had to make the illusion more realistic to the human condition, which is a mixture of happiness and hardship. When you face absolutely no hardships in life, no challenging or difficult moments, there's nothing for you to contrast the good moments with, and your reality will become vapid and meaningless. You will lose purpose in life because, well, what should I strive for if nothing is difficult? Everything can be achieved easily. I'm always content with everything. You'd come to the realization your own existence is meaningless, and that's why the rat colony simply ceased to exist, because to them their existence was meaningless. Now, am I saying this flaw in Madara's plan is inherently bad writing? Absolutely not. It makes complete sense for someone like Madara, who lived through the hell of the Warring States period, to believe in something like this, in utopia, that he could be the savior of the world and make sure nobody would ever feel pain again. But guess what? This is in complete opposition to the main theme of the Naruto series, and it's even in opposition to Madara's own character, because even though Madara talked a lot about bringing in peace through Infinite Tsukuyomi, that the world should be rid of losers, everybody should be a winner, he really liked to battle and to go through struggle and to win and beat other people up. He loved winning. He belittled other people for being weak. He found himself superior to others, and he took enjoyment out of that. I mean, that's the entire story of the Madara versus 5 Kage fight. It's just Madara flexing on the 5 Kage and saying, I am so much more powerful than you. I'm just toying with you guys and having a little fun here. And also when he gets his real body back with Rinne Tensei, and the 9-tailed beasts toss him around, punch Madara like a ping pong ball, and eventually they all come together and slam him with their tails, he loses an arm and starts to bleed, but he smiles and starts to cackle maniacally, enjoying himself, enjoying that pain, enjoying the taste of blood. He was loving that because he could actually feel again, feel pain, feel the real battle. To Madara, the amazing struggle to achieve the Infinite Tsukuyomi was what gave his life meaning, and it was difficult, challenging, things that would never happen in the Infinite Tsukuyomi reality. Because if we take a look at every single one of the main characters' dreams that we see are in Infinite Tsukuyomi, they are all living completely perfect realities, devoid of any struggle or hardship. And it's so interesting because Madara, this very wise and old character that came up with his ideology to usher utopia, doesn't realize that he contradicts himself by enjoying fighting and even killing other people and enjoying the taste of blood in his mouth. And that's surprisingly extremely realistic from a psychological standpoint, because the bloodiest ideologies in the real world are the ones who claim to be the answer for bringing in utopia to the human race. But regardless of how you achieve utopia, the result after utopia is achieved is going to be the same. The mice colony will die because they face no struggle. They have to endure nothing, and therefore they will create their own struggle by starting to fight each other, and then the cycle of struggle starts again and utopia unravels. And this is the main theme of the Naruto series, very well encapsulated by Sasuke in chapter 699 as he's about to leave the Leaf Village, now in good terms with the Leaf Village. Like seriously, reread chapter 699 and you'll see that Sasuke delivers the main thesis for the story of Naruto itself, a story that's about ninjas, and Sasuke is saying what a ninja actually is. To be a ninja is to endure, to go through these harsh cycles of pain and struggle, but still remain human, still remain who you are. Not forgetting that what brings actual happiness and fulfillment in life is to overcome those difficult situations with your bonds, with the people you love, to protect and cherish them, clinging to your own humanity no matter how hard things get. that this is what it means to be a ninja, and it goes in complete opposite to what Madara is trying to achieve. With the Infinite Tsukuyomi, he wishes to erase all sorts of struggle and difficult situations a person will ever face in their lives, and therefore Madara is actually erasing their humanity itself. So even if the entire human population lived forever under the illusion of Infinite Tsukuyomi, they would have completely empty and vapid lives, and they could probably even become depressive in the Infinite Tsukuyomi illusion as well. If everything always works the way you want, if there's nothing for you to fight for, your life's gonna be meaningless, and it would just become a nightmare of an illusion. I guess the solution for Madara would be to attune the illusion to make people's lives harsh in the illusion itself, just like in the Matrix, but then again, then what's the point of casting Infinite Tsukuyomi to begin with? The point was to make everybody's lives perfect, but if you have to make them imperfect so that they can actually live through the illusion without crippling depression, then what is even the point, right? Just let them live in the real world. That's gonna provide them with plenty of opportunities for struggle and hardship, just like the real world has always done. And so, Madara's philosophy here, an ultimate goal of putting people in a perfect illusion, is wrong. And that's great for the narrative and for the main characters to prove the main antagonist of the War Arc wrong in that regard. Now, the absolutely frustrating issue with this is that Madara is never actually proven wrong by Naruto and Sasuke and the other main characters, and that's because of how he gets dealt with. I've said this millions of times, I think, but Black Zetsu stabbing Madara from behind and bringing Kaguya into the Naruto universe is the worst writing decision ever made in fiction, and this is one of the reasons why the Infinite Tsukuyomi conundrum, oh god, is Madara actually right? Should people be put in their illusions? Would it actually be better for us? It's completely destroyed because now Infinite Tsukuyomi and everything else is just so that we can create a white Zetsu army that can fight against other Otsutsukis. And what will a white Zetsu army even do against an Otsutsuki? It makes absolutely no sense. Black Zetsu should have remained Madara's will. The white Zetsu should have remained imperfect Hashirama clones. This was a stupid retcon for many reasons, but one of them is going to be the repercussions for Infinite Tsukuyomi itself. Now the moral philosophical debate is just completely useless, because at the end of the day, the real goal was to exterminate the human population anyway, so it doesn't matter if they're living in an illusion here if everybody's gonna die. It renders any interesting moral questions that even the reader may have worthless. And the worst thing is that no, Madara is actually never proven wrong. Instead of having this climactic, epic, philosophical fight for the destiny of human race, Naruto and Sasuke fight against an alien albino goddess or whatever that has absolutely no motivation other than, oh, you guys took my chakra, I'm taking it back. Oh my god, I hate my children, with less personality than a cardboard box. And the very interesting moral philosophical debate you could have during the entire war is thrown out of the window. Now, I will say that one thing that could have been more explored before that in the war would be people in the Ninja Alliance that would actually be in favor of Madara's plans. Because let's be real here, if those 80,000 Alliance ninjas were told that, oh, actually we're fighting against this really powerful guy because he wants to put all of us in a perfect dream where everything good will happen to us. So please go die for me in this war fighting against your own utopia. How many people do you think would actually support Madara's utopia here? Especially ninjas who lived through hell during their entire lives. Ninjas that lost their family, their friends in the previous wars, or even after that. I would say a decent amount of ninjas would be hesitant, to say the least. Some would even probably try to fight against the Alliance in favor of Madara and Obito. The way Kishimoto goes about quote-unquote solving this problem is that they never really get informed about the real plan Madara has for the world. So your average ninja is fighting in the 4th grade ninja war because, well, Madara has captured most tail beasts. If he captures all of them, the world is going to end, and obviously I have to fight against that. But they didn't actually know Madara's real plan. plans. Can you imagine how interesting a war of propaganda could have been? You know, Obito going around, delivering his actual plan, telling the white Zetsus to do the same, which could have some interesting defecting storylines from the Alliance, and people just questioning the morality of it all. Characters could have a very similar debate to what fans have, of whether or not you would want to live in this Infinite Tsukuyomi illusion. This could be very interesting, but for many reasons it didn't happen. First of all, because in-universe the war lasts for 2 days, so it doesn't really have a lot of time for this to develop. And the only time the Alliance as a whole gets informed, well, somewhat informed about Madara and Obito's plans is when Naruto and Sasuke are fighting against Jubito towards the end of the fight, and Naruto's emotions are running wild, and because of Ino's mind link, his thoughts are pretty much going to everyone in the Alliance itself. So that's when people could have gotten that information, and Naruto even tells Obito, as Naruto and Sasuke are fusing the Kurama avatar with the Susanoo, that they're gonna be living their own dreams. So Naruto is rejecting the Infinite Tsukuyomi in that point of the story, like he would always reject. But this could be a great moment for Naruto to actually deliver a talk no jutsu to the entire Alliance and people that were doubtful about fighting against the Infinite Tsukuyomi. Instead, it's just Naruto being very firm in his convictions and challenging Obito, which is fine, but it could have been more impactful if the speech Naruto gave there had this added layer of depth to it. It would also have been very interesting to see the perspectives of many characters about the Infinite Tsukuyomi illusion. Like, it's weird. Even the characters that know about the plan don't even question it. Not even in their inner monologues. They're not doubtful or anything. It seems like fighting against the Infinite Tsukuyomi is common sense, but obviously it isn't. It's a very compelling argument that many people in the real world have fallen for. Utopias are very enticing. Well, that's just a bit of a missed opportunity with the entire Infinite Tsukuyomi plan, but as I explained before, the final result would be to reject it. And this could have been done with Naruto's speech to Obito and the final defeat of the Infinite Tsukuyomi plan when they defeat Madara Uchiha in the war, instead of like Zetsu and Kaguya showing up and saying, yeah, just kidding, bro. Everything you cared about, it was actually nothing like that. Like Zetsu has planned the entire history of Shinobi so that Kaguya could be brought back. The more you think about that retcon, the more you hate it, I swear. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Ring notifications as well. Those things are very helpful. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Please do. It takes 2 seconds. And watch this video showing up on your screen right now for another cool Naruto video. Thank you so much for watching.